Okay, we now have our phone system set up. We have our email integrated. We're almost ready to start using the CRM. So to get your data into the platform, I mentioned in the previous videos about data forms and using external data forms for your website. You can actually create a data form just for importing leads into the platform. And so I'm going to walk through that process. So same spot as creating external data forms. You're going to come over here to Controls, Templates, Data, and Data Forms. And you'll see that previous one that we're using on an external website. In this case, I'm going to create one just for importing leads. Now think of these as a list, right? You may want to create a data form that's associated with, a certain grouping of leads. And I'll show you how to, when you import, how to filter based on lead list or lead type, things like that. But just think of these as a grouping of leads and what you're going to import to. So I'm going to go ahead and select Create New Data Form. Here I'm going to name this as Data Import. You can call this whatever you want. And I'm going to assign this to Wayne Industries. What's important, and I mentioned this in the previous video, if you are using workspaces and you're setting up a data form and you assign it to a workspace, all the leads that go into that data form will inherit that workspace. So in this case, I want this data form to be inside Wayne Industries, and I want all leads that come into this data form to automatically be assigned to Wayne Industries. So I want to inherit that workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Create. So now I can come into this data form and set up my data fields. Now in the previous video, I explained why you have a data form preview. You have the option for the external embed script, internal embed script, data form. But all this is if you want to use this on an external website or put it on an internal website within the platform that you build. If you're not doing that, no need to even mess with any of this stuff. You can simply just click Add Data Field. And so when you're creating a data form to import data to, the field names are important. So let's say you downloaded a CSV from Google Docs or a CSV from another system and they spit out a header column, right? So that header column is like first name, last name, email address, phone, company name, whatever, all these different data fields, data columns with these header names. What you're building here right now is actually that header row of your CSV. So when you get your CSV from another system, it's going to have that row to tell you what the data is. This is what you're setting up right now. It's also case sensitive. So whatever way you spell it, underscores, spaces, dashes, first name, last name with capital and some, it's all case sensitive. So in this case, I'm going to build a data form that's more in line with our global fields. We have first name, last name. Some systems just use name. You may just have data that only has name. In this case, I'm going to name my first field, I'm going to call it first name. The type is going to be text input. In most cases, you can just use text input if you're just doing importing data. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And then I'm going to go into this field and I have the option to map it to one of our global fields. So I'm going to map this to first name. What this means is you do not need to name it first name for it to map to our first name field. You can name this full name, whatever, just name. As long as you map it to first name, whatever you put in this column, in that row for this column, will map to first name. No need to set any of this stuff. Again, if you're just using this for imports and you're not going to put this out there on an external website or internal website, don't even worry about all these settings. The only important setting is going to be the map to. So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to set up last name. Oops. So in that case, let's say I just did it like that. Well, in my CSV file, when I prep it to import, you need to ensure last name is all lowercase, just like that. Of course, I don't want it like that. I'm going to do last name. I'm going to do text input. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to map that to last name. That's all I want to do. And then the next one, I'm going to do email. So email, if it's only one email address, you may have multiple. Just important that you only select the preset for one email address. I like using the preset email address for it. So I'm going to click email, hit create, and you're going to go in and select the map to. So again, only map email one-to-one, right? So you don't want to have multiple values going to the same map to. In this case, email is locked to email, so I'm good to go. Next, I'm going to do phone. I'm going to select text input, create. I'm going to go into phone. I'm going to map that to phone. Good to go. And I'm going to add one more. We'll do company. So text input, create, company, map to company. So now we're good. I have a data form that I can import data to. I have the ability to add unlimited fields. I mean, the biggest thing that you have to take away from this, and most mistakes are made, is that this name right here, this is what your header row needs to look like. It needs to look identical to what these names are. So this is what you're going to be importing to when you create your CSV and you put your data into that CSV. These are the header names of your columns that you're going to put in exactly like this. Now we have a template you can download, which I'll show you in the next video. But if you're just downloading data from another system and you want to change out the column names, you can either name it exactly the way you have them on your CSV account or file, or replace them with what you put here. Another cool thing that you can do, especially if you have multiple lists or want to organize your data into multiple data forms, but they're all in the same format, have all the same fields as far as data. Once you create your data form, you can actually clone it by just clicking this and naming it and assign it to a different workspace and hit clone, and that'll clone everything that you've set up inside that data form.